question comes from Joyce. Joyce asked me this question, and she writes, "My question is, when you died, what did you see, hear, or do outside your body? And how is it different from an NDE?" Well, Joyce, for those who probably don't follow my work, Joyce's questions come out of the fact that I died in 1979 at the young age of 17 due to a tragic car accident. And while I was in that stage, I said that I died, which I physically did. Dying and the experience is no different from an NDE. And an NDE is no different from any other spiritual experience. To answer that question, what did I see? I see nothing. Actually, I'd see nothing. I was in the void. That place where everything starts, and there's nothing. There's nothing because there's no need for anything to be, to exist. I was surrounded by, I could say, spiritual beings, but I never saw any. I just felt their presence, and I was surrounded and bathed by love and peace. That's all I felt, love and peace. I knew that I was surrounded by something that wanted to express itself next to me, surrounding me, protecting me, giving me that comfort, that feeling that you can sense but not see, that presence that you cannot visualize it because it is a pure intent. And that's where all my teachings come from. The original fact that everything is and comes from an original intent, and then we give it form. Now, one point that I want to stress is that when I did not see, what I did not see but felt was something that I was getting familiar with at that time, trying to understand or identify myself with. But suddenly, I paid closer attention to something that was much, much bigger, powerful, and I don't even know how many words I can use to describe this presence that was so overwhelmingly powerful, surrounding everything. Some people call it God, but I couldn't call it God because that was not the God that I was taught for it to be. And that was something that boggled my mind for so many years, because that presence, that love, that power, that greatness was not the God that I was taught that it exists. But I did understand that higher being, entity, force, whatever you want to call it, was surrounding everything that was surrounding me. In other words, it's like me, I was surrounded by something, and that something was surrounded by that something that was so extremely, there's no way to describe it. But it's a powerful thing that did not bring fear to me. It actually gave me the comfort of knowing that I'm not alone, that we are not alone. that we are that which was. And that is so profound and so hard to explain that there are no words. And I will be giving you a disservice if I try to explain that feeling, that awareness of who you are, who you truly are. When it comes to the question, what did I hear or do? There's nothing to do. I was just the observer. Just observer. And I didn't hear anything because I didn't have my senses with me. So in the absence of those physical senses, I was not able to hear anything. In fact, every time that you hear something, that inner voice, it had nothing to do with your hearing capacity. That's a totally different subject ballgame. And how is it that different from an NDE? Well, unfortunately, there are different terms, like for example, NDE, which is near-death experience, OBE, which is out-of-body experiences. Now there's a new term called STE, which means spiritual transformative experiences. And people may come out with different names. It doesn't matter. It's still a spiritual experience. How it manifests, that's up to whatever relationship you had with that, whatever manifest. It all depends how attuned you are. It all depends what is your background, religious background, social background, economical background. We are the sum total of all our experiences, the beginning of time, since the first movement took form. So that means that every single one of us will have a different experience. Because we can relate to the world accordingly to our personal experience and how we perceive those experiences, how we can relate to those experiences based on our predisposition of this physical plane or even past lives. Actually, past lives have more influence on your present than you think. Because tell me if it's not true that many times you have felt the urge, the fear, the temptation, the whatever you want from something that you don't know where it's coming from. I personally have fears of heights, but I don't recall having any experience in my childhood to that effect. But I do know that in the past life, I must have gone through that experience because it is so intense that I don't know where it comes from. And many others that you might relate to when you start thinking deep inside you and start trying to understand why you have this fear, or why you are inclined to this, or why are you so attracted to this or to that. So a near-death experience is just one term used to something that cannot be explained by science, which is taking a glimpse at the other side. But if you want to know more about near-death experience and my experiences, you can read it in my book. This book, Near-Death Experience, A Glimpse at What Lies Ahead. This is the result of my actual lectures, live lectures that I have done in the past, and I have received the feedback from people. And I felt compelled to make a book, to put it in writing, to explain what a near-death experience truly is. In fact, if you pay attention to this little drawing here, this little drawing was given to me by higher sources, what they call themselves the collective forces of knowledge and wisdom. And I felt compelled to put it in writing because that is the actual understanding, interpretation, and perceptive way that humanity can better understand what a near-death experience truly is. And as a matter of fact, this drawing go way further than what is portrayed here, because it is a way of interpreting and understanding the difference between the spiritual and the physical plane in ways I have not yet disclosed, but soon I will, in due time. Okay, but meanwhile, feel free to send me your questions, anything that had to do with spirituality, and you might bring other subjects in. I don't mind. If I feel appropriate, I will make a video and give you the answer. So this is Frank Valentin from Searching Truth. In this session, Ask Frank. Until then.